Westford Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023. The first item on our agenda is open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum? So I do. Last Thursday, I went to a presentation hosted by the Groton Conservation Commission in Groton about the spotted lanternfly. Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting things that came out of that was they've actually got a town committee specifically to deal with invasive species, be it plants or insects.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they had somebody from the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources there to speak. I came home with a lot of brochures, and I don't know that it's relevant to us, but it was really interesting to see what's happening in other towns.
You say a fly? Is that what they were?
Spotted lanternfly. Yeah.
Do they have it in Groton yet?
She showed a map. I think the closest place is probably Fitchburg.
Okay.
That they've had sightings.
2 days.
Oh, really? Yeah, and I think when they have found it, it's been associated with plant imports, to nurseries. That's where they've found the larvae and the egg masses.
Mm-hmm. I sure wouldn't mind some kind of a lecture on invasive plants, though.
Certainly look to try and I'll look to try and arrange that.
Well, but actually,
I really would, because it might be some way to for us then a secondary to educate our public from it, because not everybody recognizes what's all over their property.
And a couple
or how
of years,
to dispose of it.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, the Conservation Trust had a presentation from the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources at their annual meeting.
On
and
that?
Yeah.
I mean, I belong, but I don't go to any.
Yeah, but it was a lot of good information, so.
Yeah, I would love you to,
Okay.
Try to line something up and either have it
at a
as
lighter time of the year or something. Yeah.
Yep.
Certainly.
You have something?
Only thing for open forum is that annual town meeting is Saturday, March 25th at 10 a.m. in the Westford Academy Gymnasium. Please be a part of the democratic process to the viewing public, if there's any.
Okay.
That's all.
And everybody knows our meeting is at 9:30.
So I don't think there's any input from
The audience.
the audience. So we'll move on to our next our next
unusual.
agenda item, which is a public hearing and issue order of conditions for the Westford Department of Public Works Carlisle Road Sidewalk Project.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of the Westford Department of Public Works for work within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands and bank to construct a sidewalk and minor drainage system improvements within the Carlisle Road right-of-way between 6 Carlisle Road and Applewood Drive.
I made a mistake last time, Madam Chair, so I won't jump in until I'm told.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair. Paul Starrett, Town Engineer, here on behalf of Steve Cronin, the Director of Public Works, who's attending the Northern Middlesex Council's Vision 2050, their big transportation plan this evening. So we're spread thin, but here with me this evening is John Rockwell, registered professional engineer with TEC, who's a design professional on several of our projects here in town, including the Carlisle Road Sidewalk Project. And John's going to take us through the highlights of the wetland impacts on this project.
And if you wouldn't mind jumping to sheet 4 of the plans, probably be the best place to all right, thank you. So the purpose of the project is it's a 2,400 linear foot sidewalk construction project along Carlisle Road. It's planned to be a 5-foot wide sidewalk separated from the roadway with granite curbing. Typically, there's a segment of the project about 350 foot of the sidewalk itself within the buffer zone to an inland bank and bordering vegetated wetland that was delineated by Rimmer Environmental Consulting. And this is immediately north of near Liberty Way. So the purpose of the project, it was identified initially as a priority by the Pedestrian Safety Committee to improve pedestrian accessibility and connectivity along Carlisle Road, between Carlisle Road and Littleton Road, as well as existing sidewalk networks along a number of the residential side streets adjacent or intersecting Carlisle Road. So this sheet shows that segment of
Orange.
The orange button in the middle,
Yeah.
or that one works too.
And could you
Can't
talk into the
rotate.
mic a little, because I'm having trouble hearing you, because you have a soft voice.
Speak up a little bit. So the bordering vegetated wetland that was delineated is associated with a small pond that ultimately outlets south to Vine Brook. And the bordering vegetated wetland, as I'm highlighting here, the nearest point to the limit of grading associated with this portion of sidewalk is about 24 feet. There's no direct impacts proposed to bordering vegetated wetland, only impacts within the buffer zone itself. Approximately 3,400 feet of disturbance within the 100-foot buffer, and the majority of that area, or all of that area actually, is previously disturbed area associated with the roadway itself and the adjacent development sites. A significant portion of that area is also just currently maintained as mowed lawn. So the measures that we're taking in association with the project to minimize and mitigate the impacts of the project are to install a 12-inch compost filter tube staked along the limit of grading adjacent to the bordering vegetated wetland inland bank area. The catch basins within the limits of the project, existing catch basins will be outfitted with silt sacks to collect any sediment that may run off from the area of excavation associated with this work. So we filed as a limited project for maintenance and improvement of existing roadways. And we are, as I mentioned, we've limited the amount of grading within the buffer zone to the extent that we can in order to still tie into that existing mowed lawn area without causing unnecessarily steep slope where the abutter there maintains that area. I think that pretty much hits the highlights. I'm happy to answer any specific questions on the limits or the impacts of the project.
Jim?
Could you point out where the 25-foot distance is that's the closest that the work?
Yep,
project
it's
is
it's
to-
approximately right here.
So
Right at it's the
flag
it's the
A,
northerly limit of
A3?
the BVW.
Yeah, A3.
flag A3 is the close point? Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
I did have a question about the landscape island. I was just, you said what plants are planted there, and I was wondering if they are drought tolerant, just in terms of, that it only getting natural rainfall.
Yeah, the plantings that were selected primarily for their hardiness, within a roadway environment.
Okay.
To withstand the salt and sand that may be spread along that island, or that may ultimately encroach on that island from the plowing operations of the roadway.
And this is a town of Westford Road. It's beyond the state layout, so Jonathan Rivas will ultimately be maintaining this particular island, unless we get someone to sponsor it.
That's true.
Have the police and fire reviewed this? Is this okay with them?
I can't hear you, and it's either me tonight or everybody else. Go ahead.
I just said, have the police and fire departments reviewed this?
So this project has been through multiple public hearings and meetings with the select board, the pedestrian safety committee, the abutters, since 2019. This project was originally on the other side of the road to avoid entanglements with the wetlands in the area, but abutter participation in the process pushed the project to this side of the road. But the police have been a part of all of those meetings as far as I am aware. But specific to that traffic island, is that we're mountable there, aren't we?
Yeah, so the opening portion here of the traffic island is proposed to be flush in order to facilitate fire truck movements taking a left out of Liberty Way. The remainder of the island, which won't conflict with those turning movements, is a raised island to accommodate that landscaping.
And also, is part of the sidewalks on this side of the road and then the other part's on the other side? Why?
Correct, yeah, so from the north limit of the project, the sidewalk is on the west side of the roadway, and then it crosses through this pedestrian refuge area to the east side at Melissa Drive
To
to
specifically
connect
access
to
Melissa.
the existing sidewalk here, and then. Oh, no. Okay, so then there's a second crossing at Whitney Drive where the sidewalk then transitions to the east side of the roadway.
And again, this is to accommodate the abutters who actively participated. We still have not secured all of the land acquisitions that we need. We're still working with some of the abutters to acquire easements, but we're very close, but that's why it goes back and forth like this.
Do you foresee this being something that's gonna happen in 2023, or is this likely to be a 2024 project?
We would like, it if we can secure the easements, and again, we're close, but the commercial properties, as you can appreciate, all have staffs of lawyers. And I've been working with all 7 of the different firms, and we're close, but I would like very much to get it done. This project was appropriated years ago, so
Okay.
we would like to get it done this summer, but if we can't, or the fall, but if we can, it'll have to go forward.
No. Matt, did you have any?
No.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? No. Okay,
There was a draft special.
Draft orders.
Draft special condition which was provided to the project team, also in the meeting packet. I did receive one comment from the town's assistant town engineer regarding the 6th finding.
Number
6. Primarily related to, it'll be a asphalt sidewalk as opposed to cement concrete, and it will, the project will result in a small increase in the impervious area, whereas the last clause of the finding says none of which will result in added impervious cover, so I'd like to strike that.
okay.
So it's gonna be changed to say asphalt? and-
Asphalt sidewalk and
Strike the,
The-
no, and
The none of which.
yes.
One of our options for construction is our Newport mitigation, so if that becomes, if that's the direction this project goes, we'll be able to use asphalt.
I did have 2 suggested modifications as well. In the project description, it talks about construction of the sidewalk and the minor drainage systems, and I just said to Matt that it would also be good to mention here that we were doing the island, the 2 islands that are being incorporated as well, because those are safety features. And then the other question that I had, looking down at the sequence of events, was the installation of those islands wasn't specifically spelled out, and I was just curious whether that was a significant enough work item that it should be reflected in the sequence of events that we give.
I thought so, and again, it's more just kind of as the construction,
So we haven't secured rights on the other side, and if we don't want that to stop the project, which is being driven largely by our new residents at Balsam Circle, who would like to be able to get down to Market Basket and other places to shop on 110. So if we're not able to secure the easement on the opposite side of the road, we want the project to go forward without the traffic island, without the,
Okay,
because we won't be crossing there if we can't get that easement.
oh, because it would be, if you're not going to the other side of the road, you wouldn't be
Yeah,
putting in
the
the
only
islands.
reason, the only reason we had that is that these, on the Whitney Drive, John broke it here. This ramp will require a temporary easement on a property that we haven't been able to definitively close again, conversations and dialogue, but if we're not able to get that, that we want the sidewalk to still at least be built to Balsam Circle.
Okay, so what you're saying is those islands are a possibility rather than an inevitability?
Yes.
Okay.
It might be appropriate to say they're an ad alt
Okay,
project.
I can add that as the.
yeah, okay.
But, yeah, I'm the optimist in the room, so we're gonna get that easement, and we're gonna get that built, and we're gonna get that.
So, did anybody else have comments on the order of conditions? Okay. Matt, we're good to issue them?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
That's for signatures.
That's the main.
Okay, so, moving on to our next agenda item, it's a continuation of a public hearing and issue order of conditions for the Westford Department of Public Works, the Blue Brook Culvert under Groton Road.
Madam Chair, so a draft special conditions were presented to the commission. We wanted to wait and see what Mass DEP's comments were regarding following up on whether their technical comments had been addressed, their response, and a PowerPoint presentation about from the Division of Ecological Restoration, I think, from the state about, optimizing culvert replacement projects. I thought it was interesting. It was shared in the meeting packet, but as presented originally at the last meeting by the project team, this Blue Brook culvert, because it is a existing 3-foot concrete pipe, is being replaced with a 3-foot concrete pipe, because while a box culvert would meet the stream crossing standards, the hydraulic and H&H, hydraulic and something else, analysis would cause flooding downstream to the a culvert that is not owned and under the control of the town. So by achieving the stream crossing standards, we would ultimately be flooding out a culvert downstream, which is bad form at best. And so added a finding to that effect. Also just some minor tweaks to the proposed special conditions, as discussed with the project team. If there are any questions, myself and town engineer.
I don't really have a question about the project, just the condition 26. I think in some of the editing it lost some meaning or punctuation or something.
Where's that?
Special condition 26. Prior to the performance of any other site work, a sedimentation or erosion control barrier consisting, we should leave the word of in there, consisting of wattles or other control features as may be approved shall be properly installed. I think we have to put a period there and start a new sentence with wattles shall be staked, or wattles shall be staked, so they can be lifted or moved easily between the construction area and the wetlands. So it's just punctuation, I think, got mixed up with some of the editing.
Any other comments or corrections?
Anything from you?
Did they have any?
So, and Paul, any
Nope.
No,
Okay.
no, our team was very happy with, what you prepared for us. We'll be able to get it done.
Okay. And other comments from you?
Nope.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, just I'm sorry.
We've got one more?
Yep.
Sure.
How soon we forget.
Okay. So moving on to our next agenda item. This is a continuation of a public hearing and issue order of conditions for Westford Department of Public Works, the Pond Brook Culvert at Old Lowell Road.
If I may. So, based upon the discussion with the commission at the last meeting, and taking into account the findings were bolstered with some of the language from the narrative as was prepared. You know, that the culvert's been designed to maintain hydraulic continuity and a wildlife connection, and also that it has been designed to provide continuity of the natural stream bed and provide bank continuity on both sides of the stream, not to hinder the use by riverine wildlife. Again, language that was in the narrative and is, I think, significant to the commission's findings, if to be approved. Also, Jim, as looking at this, I will correct.
26, same thing.
Yeah,
Same
26,
Yep.
just for
Yep.
flow and English. And if the commission is acceptable to that, I have comment from the applicant, project team.
So, Paul, any comments?
No, again, just this, on behalf of the director, this is going to be our approach going forward. That's our commitment to you. We're not going to, notwithstanding emergencies, which can occur, culverts collapse, we've got to do something, but now that we've got the enterprise fund, which supported our study and is funding the strategic culvert replacement, we will have these planned years in advance, so we'll be coming to you with each one going forward so that we together can create a better environment for our natural resources flowing under our roads and get our jobs done better, more sustainable, more long-lasting is what we're going for. These are our first two, our inaugural culverts.
Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience on this project? Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you on Saturday.
Yes,
Yes,
Oh,
you will.
yes.
Signatures for that.
okay.
What's the rest of this? Is it
Um,
all saying like that?
Moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item. The topic is a request to manage invasive vegetation for CR number 60 at Summer Village.
Under Massachusetts General Laws,
Actually, so if we could discuss the
Yeah, that's the next
the
one.
request to perform work in the conservation restriction, just kind of as a point of order, where the Summer Village Conservation Advisory, sorry, I forgot your name. Conservation Advisory Committee at Summer Village are proposing to manage invasive species, portions of which are within the approved conservation restriction for the property. I wanted the commission to first consider and approve. The conservation restriction was included in the meeting packet. It is the permitted activities and use number 6, as shown on the screen and highlighted. And as with prior written approval by the grantee, they may manage invasive and noxious vegetation, further protecting the conservation restriction. So if the commission has any questions, I'd appreciate a vote to approve the request to manage invasive vegetation within the conservation restriction as outlined in the recorded CR.
I have no problem with that.
Well, I have a question. So our very next public hearing is, you know, dealing with invasive species. And I really like that plan. It was all laid out exactly what was gonna happen in each area. I hear what we're doing here, but do we have such a plan?
No, this is just recognizing that we have the authority to let them,
Right, but I didn't know if they were just gonna go in and do it based off, you know, I thought it'd be something more like, okay, we're gonna go in and this is what we're gonna do.
So, yeah, so within the notice of intent application, that was the base, you know, that is the written, you know, the plan.
No, I know that is the language that was provided.
So the management of the invasive species within the portions of the area subject to the CR would be done in accordance with the notice of intent plan as provided.
so the notice
That's
of
fine,
intent
and they
plan
would follow
covers.
the procedure like anything else.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep,
fine.
okay, Jim,
And wait till we do the public hearing.
you'll wait for the NOI, okay. Matt, did you have anything more? Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience on this, request? You know, how we're phrasing this is really, it's discussing and acknowledging that the language in the CR will permit the work to remove to manage invasive species.
Yes, with, you know, written, and I will include the written approval as part of the order of conditions and the findings, so that there is a documented, you know, as shown in the CR, it says with written
Yep.
approval. So including that language to approve
Okay,
the scope of work.
so can I have a motion to approve the request to manage invasive vegetation as outlined in the CR document?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to our second part of the agenda item, public hearing for Summer Village Conservation Advisory Committee.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023, at 7:15 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of the Summer Village Conservation Advisory Committee for the removal of invasive vegetation and restoration of native plant communities within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands, bank, and bordering land subject to flooding at 6 Summer Village Road.
Good evening. If you'll tell us who you are and tell us about your project,
So, you talking to me?
or, well, whoever's the spokesperson.
All right, I'm Kim Henderson Lee. I've been with the Conservation Committee at Summer Village for a couple years now. This is Herb and Carolyn. They also work with me. We came before you, I think it was July or August last year, and we did a pilot program. This document here has pictures of the success. We've had 2 to 3 different volunteer days that we've worked in the areas, and we plan to continue for this coming summer to keep it from spreading. We're trying to maintain it and stem back any of the continued spread. We plan to do some restoration of native plants, all with mindfulness of containing any erosion possibilities. And we do not plan to use herbicide. It is all manual.
So I was out at the site last year when they were doing the pilot program, saw a couple, almost all of the proposed management areas, I think area number 8 by the treatment facility, I hadn't been up by, but certainly saw the invasive species that are present, and this was proposed as an ecological restoration limited project, whereas they are, portions of the work is, within jurisdictional resource areas, but it is an approved or consistent with the Inland Ecological Restoration Limited Project as shown on the Appendix A. Invasive species management is certainly a benefit to the native plant communities there. And a DEP file number was issued today, but I didn't write it down, but I'll have that for the next meeting.
Jim?
I have one request. I see there's 8 areas identified. 3 of them are contiguous with each other, it's one large parcel. So there's 6, I guess, altogether. Could they be identified in the field, marked with flags or marking tape or something like that? I think we had done that in the pilot program.
So yeah, I still
so we knew
have
the
all of
exact
those
area.
signs, and I do continue to plan to use those.
Showed like the limits of where
Yep.
you're planning to
Yep.
manage the invasives.
Yeah, we
Okay.
definitely want people to know what we're doing and why we're doing it.
And that
to
the areas
help
are
they
limited
learn from it.
in scope.
Yep.
It doesn't just extend back to increase a parking
Yeah,
area or
this is
something like that.
not just any plant that
Right.
we are, yeah, absolutely.
We're just not clearing.
Right,
We
just
are
not, right, we're
clear.
just not clearing.
Just not clearing, yeah.
Invasives,
We're,
yeah.
we're doing something, yeah.
It is
Perfect.
very particular that what we are working on.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other members of the commission have questions or comments?
I had, just on this, with the signs as Jim brought up, I may,
It's last year.
yeah, and include some of the, just specifically including the DEP file number on it, just so it
okay,
is,
sure.
I've seen that used elsewhere, and then, you don't have to have a specific DEP file sign for, here's 18, I think it's 1822 on the property, but it's not really, tied to something specific, so, on the signs
Is
includes.
that something that you're assigning tonight, or is that something?
No, it's something that I wanted to present to the commission for their consideration, but include as a special condition, as kind of.
No, do we have a number?
The state issued it. I think it's 1822, but I'll double check and
Right.
confirm with the.
So that would be related to the filing of the NOI with the
Yes.
state?
Yeah.
Okay. I looked through the presentation and I thought it was very well done. One small comment that I had on the page where you talk about the invasive plant species that are spreading aggressively. I noticed a couple of additions, but one of the things that I noticed is with things like knotweed, the honeysuckle, and the barberry, you didn't identify what the specific variation was. And for example, with honeysuckle, there's a vine and there's also a bush.
Yes,
And so
there's-
some of it is.
There's American and.
Yeah, and so
yeah.
it's always good to be very specific with which plants you're targeting. Also with the garlic mustard, because that's very problematic in terms of when you tackle it. That you really want to tackle it kind of before it flowers. And I was wondering what was the source of, as you pick up new species to target, what is your source of information for how to handle it?
We do a lot of research. We
Okay.
also have a member that is part of the National Audubon Society who manages 3 properties for them. So we have people at our disposal. She's part of our committee. She comes out on a work day. We, as a group, are knowledgeable about what the plants are.
Okay. The other thing that, with the pilot that we did last year, I found it very helpful as you went in and documented what you did. And what I would really like to see is at the end of each year, a report that basically summarizes your activities that year, you know, the areas where work was performed, what invasive species were removed, if you observed any regrowth of invasive after the work you did the prior year. And in some places you were talked about replacement planting, and I think just, you know, having that documented in the report, it's very clear that, you know, that we have something that tells us year over year what you've been doing, because I think
Sure.
as we expand this work in town, it's very nice if you can serve as a model.
Yeah, definitely. This winter, I started doing some winter sowing of Joe Pye wheat for this area.
Okay. So, are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? So, because this is, a notice of intent, do we,
Continue to April 12th, and I'll draft special conditions
okay.
for the board's commission's consideration.
So, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing until April 12th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Matt will be sending you the draft of the special conditions. If you have any comments or questions, you can get back to him. If you don't have any questions, you can be here or not. It'll just be going through the form of issuing them and then closing the public hearing.
Okay, you're not going to have any questions for us. You certainly can reach out if you do.
Yeah.
In the meantime. It's
Yes,
just Summer Village isn't open, and
Yes.
I wouldn't make the trip if
Okay.
you weren't gonna have questions.
When does it open?
The 15th.
April 15th.
April 15th.
It's a 6-month, is that what it is? A 6-month window?
Yeah, 6
that's what
months.
I remember.
So there's nobody in using the units now, or,
Oh, no, you definitely can't.
okay.
The water's shut off, isn't
That was
it?
The
that was
water shut
condition.
off.
Oh, I remember.
They close it anytime that there's snow because they don't plow any of the dirt roads.
There just may be some maintenance. Maintenance is allowed. There's nobody, you're not allowed to live there.
Yeah.
as-
But
for
yeah,
those 6
That was
months.
one of the
No, because
conditions.
I'd seen vehicles driving in and out, and, you know.
People check
so-
on their places.
That could be
They don't
maintenance.
stay overnight.
It could be, yeah, you're not allowed to stay.
Well, it's odd things like you decide to go to Florida and you realize that your bathing suit is at Summer Village.
Because half of our life is there.
Because half of that your summer life is there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
we're all set.
Super.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our 7:25 PM agenda item, a continuation of the public hearing for Samia, 12 Castle Road.
Good evening.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hi there.
Hi, my name's Derek Samia, and this is my fiance Kayla Reed.
Hi.
Our schedules finally allowed us both to attend, so we just wanted to come and introduce ourselves to you guys.
Thank you. Welcome to town.
Thank you very much.
Excited to move in eventually.
Not yet.
Ways away.
So good evening, my name is Nick Pauling, I'm with Goldsmith, Price and Ringwell. Sorry for the late color plans, I brought you some paper copies. That actually looks pretty good on the screen, it's either terrible in your hand or terrible on your screen. So, since the last time we saw you on February 22nd, at that time we talked to you about conceptual, layout, revision to the plan. Got the general head shaking.
Thank you.
For the commission, that Friday of that week, we went out and did soil testing to support the relocation of the leaching area. And what we did that Friday is we did testing here along the toe of the existing slope. What we ended up doing is the intent, or this yellow line here is the outline of the 100-foot. So as we were being directed, we were trying to relocate this leaching area outside the 100-foot buffer zone. we tested starting at this limit of the 100-foot buffer zone, went northward, and Pandora's box started to creep open with this hole here to the north. That hole revealed some unacceptable soils as far as the septic was concerned. So we came back and did a 5th hole to the south, actually knowing that we were going to be within the 100-foot buffer zone. So we were able to find the testing that was needed to support the new leaching area. But what we had to do to make that work is we revised the leaching area. Previously there was 9 55-foot long trenches. What we did is we cut 10 feet off the length, so now there's 12 45-foot long trenches. Due to that squishing of the leaching area, it made it wider, which forced this corner here into the buffer zone, which we maintained at 83 feet from this wetland flag, which is identical to the offset from the existing leaching area, which is this green area, to this wetland flag. So we were trying to stay outside the 100-foot buffer as we were being directed. Soil conditions made us push it further south. Now, if you also remember, we had an irrigation well here that we were trying to maintain, and that we had the domestic water to the north that we were going to remove due to the 100-foot radius. Kind of moving around some puzzle pieces, making lemonade out of lemons. In the shifting of this leaching area down, now we are within the 50-foot required offset of the irrigation well. So the plan is now to actually decommission the irrigation well to the south, change the domestic supply well to the north to irrigation use, which now changes the protective radii from 100 to 50 feet. And then we still have the new domestic water supply well off the driveway so that we can control those required offset buffers. We've also pushed the house forward as we originally discussed. It's this dark blue area here that's not really shaded. It shows up better on the paper plan. This blue area here is the existing house, and this area is actually the existing deck, just for a sense of scale or purpose if you've been to the property. So, excuse me, what this allowed us to do is put the proposed septic tank here that goes to a pump chamber here. Again, that's outside the 100-foot buffer as requested. As part of the septic design, we've also included what's called an ejector pump for the flow from the basement level. That's a pump within the structure that lifts the effluent up to the building sewer, and it will exit the same pipe out of the foundation as the rest of the service floors. So yes, the septic tanks are outside the 100-foot buffer. The leaching area did, because of the conditions, unfortunately creep back in to the 100-foot buffer, but we've shifted and maintained and prided to keep the Pandora's box closed to maintain the existing offset. So the revised site plan, as we mentioned, with the house being pushed forward into the buffer zone as we talked, still removes this gray area of existing driveway. Unfortunately, we're not as aggressive or environmentally beneficial as the original layout. Originally, there was a net positive gain in pervious area of just under 800 square feet. This area, because now the house is being pushed outside or further outside the existing footprint, and because of the increase of the footprint itself, this plan actually results in a net increase of just over 200 square feet of impervious area. We are still providing the roof drainage for the entire new structure, as well as the 2,700 feet of restoration within the 30-foot buffer. So, I still think it's a net positive, but just wanted to kind of lay out all the numbers just as they kind of make sense. So that is the majority, kind of the design of what we've already talked about. I can certainly point out or focus on any other areas the commission had specifically.
Any members of the commission have questions? Jim?
Two questions. One, foundation drain, what exactly is that? Is that something that comes out from a sump pump inside the?
So not
building,
a
or-
sump pump, but just unfortunately, as we moved the house forward, we actually had to lower it into the ground, just to make elevations work per the zoning. So this foundation drain is just the typical 4-inch perforated pipe that goes around the foundation that building code requires. We did specifically want to add that just because due to elevations, it is going to start creeping into the 25-foot. This is the 30-foot, this is the 55. We put it here, ideally that outlet actually wants to swing further to the south, just due to existing grades, that if anything does come out of it, it actually overflows down gradient into the drainage wetland area here. As we take this and move it further northern, anything that comes out will come down, get on the driveway, and then continue into the wetland. So yes, that's,
Okay, we had a butter,
Yep.
the Harknesses were here, I think, 2 meetings ago or so, and they were concerned not with their property, but there was an electrical box somewhere down at the front end of the driveway. Is that anywhere in the vicinity of where that foundation drain?
no, that would be underneath these notes.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
quite a ways off then, all right.
Yeah, and the foundation drain is
Okay,
it's a building permit requirement it's just providing an outlet to relieve hydrostatic pressure against the foundation. It's not intended to, have anything connected to it and discharge. And then the end pit, we purposely buried it just to have any discharge remain there, and then it would bubble up and sheet flow down the surface. But again, that should be limited,
okay.
if any.
The other question I had, it's in the draft order of conditions about conservation posts.
Yep.
On the southerly side of the restoration area, and then on the east side of the driveway. Can you show roughly where you're expecting to put those? It says roughly 40 feet apart or something like that. All the distances are fine.
Yep.
And the description seems fine. I just want to make sure we both have the same agreement.
Yep.
Where
So
they'll go.
along the eastern edge, we think we would probably want to review that in the field with Matt to have that just at the shoulder, the existing shoulder and in vegetation of the driveway as it comes along.
Yep.
As that comes up, we've actually also added the
Just
two.
go around your well, yep.
Yep, and then come across, and then it will just be right at the
Front
30
edge of
foot.
that, straight over to the property line.
Yeah, however the 40 feet.
Okay, all right,
so.
good.
So I did stop out on Friday, took a photo of the driveway just as covered in snow, and was able to try to do my best. Didn't want to shovel the entirety of it, but long driveway. Was nice out though. Was able to kind of drag my shovel. So this is about the edge of existing pavement, and if I can zoom in, and you can see the vegetation is fairly close. So
Condition says something like 4 feet.
yeah, again, that was based off of the discussion at the last meeting. But Nick is right off the shoulder, some space to put the plows with the snow, but also there is only so much space there before you start having to remove vegetation. So somewhere within that 2 to 3 feet, 4 feet.
Especially in this area, we don't want to touch any of that vegetation just due to its sharp existing slope down to the stone wall. So yeah,
Okay.
shouldn't be an issue.
No more questions, thank you.
All right.
I'm okay.
Okay, Matt?
The only questions I had were, is there any planting, there's currently trees that were planted as a result of landscaping in the front yard, between the driveway and the structure. Are there any trees being proposed to be replanted? Is that something that could be considered, and if so, native species would be preferred, just as,
Noted. We didn't do a full landscaping plan outside the restoration area. I know my client's sitting next to me, but I'm gonna say that he's not gonna make this much of an investment in the house and not have a
Correct
decent
answer.
yard.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some, I'll do landscaping, add some trees or plants, but I haven't been asked that question either, so I haven't really got.
So just something for consideration, and also the commissions, certainly planting some native trees, regardless of, again, we weren't able to identify the ones, the individual species and, but they seem to be, I would venture a guess that most were not native, or, they were selected for a specific,
Look, rather.
yeah, purpose.
And-
as
and-
opposed
So we're
to
looking
native.
for native indigenous.
Yeah,
type of-
if,
yeah.
we can
Where
get
we can.
another, 4 or 5 planted somewhere along there, and then
It's-
ultimately.
Are we talking trees?
Yes.
Yep.
It's
mean, it's big
not
enough
a
property.
conversation that I've broached, kind of
Yeah,
baby
I
steps,
just,
we wanna
again,
get one.
certainly something
I
to
do
consider.
think that he has quite a significant amount of assets out there with those trees, with the maintenance that was from the former owner. So I do think that they would be pretty desirable for some places that would come and get them. And not only come and get them, do the work, but offer something in exchange. So that's certainly something that we'll talk and as the next step. Right now, we're just trying to get the house.
Yeah,
Where we want.
it's something, there are trees
We've
being
come a
removed.
long way there too, so.
Yes, from the first day, yes.
And I know the Board of Health is reviewing, the septic plan again, just as something to,
So they did issue comments this afternoon. There was 5 comments. Personally, I think that 4 of them are more conversation of, oh, you missed that, it's on this plan, or kind of thing. There was one that, was if it does require, it would be a revision to a detail, just to make sure that it matched up with the specifications regarding the loading of the tank, or the structure itself, so. Again, that should be, if there is a plan revision, it's, minor.
And for us, it's maximum feasible compliance on the septic, so he got everything outside of the 100 except for one portion of the leaching field. So compared to where we were in the beginning.
Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? Yes, you want to come up to the microphone? Hello, Scott.
Scott Harkness, 15 Castle Road. Nice to meet you. You were saying that the water's going to come over the driveway into our yard. And right now, the water's coming over the driveway into our yard and flooding our area. And it's very inconvenient to have that whole area, which you call a wetlands, wasn't a wetlands before the water came over the driveway, okay? This was all apple orchard, and it wasn't wetlands. But when the water comes over it, it makes it wetlands. So I'd prefer if you didn't make it so that the water comes over the driveway into our yard. That's all I have to say.
So, Matt, with where things are with the Board of Health, would we want to issue the order?
I would continue, I also have a couple just quick plan notes that I caught this afternoon, regarding on the planting plan. It talks about Director of Environmental Affairs, and while I do appreciate the promotion, just,
Planning ahead. Order's good for 3 years, once you're running the
yeah,
town.
hey, appreciate it. I have, just a couple
A
of
multi-hat
plan
guy.
revisions, but also, anything that if needs to go to, so that the septic, Board of Health septic plan in ours is consistent. And there was the draft special conditions, which were included if.
Did you have a chance to review the draft?
I did, yeah, they were fine.
Okay, at this point, we're planning to continue and issue at the next meeting, but at this point, do any members of the commission have comments or questions on the draft special conditions? Okay, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing until April 12th? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you on the 12th and expect to
Aye.
issue the order of conditions.
Hopefully not, truthfully.
Oh, you don't want to come see us?
Well, I do enjoy our time. This is one of the nicer commissions. I do enjoy playing with the cat laser. But I think if it's cleanup of a couple of notes on the plans and things like that, I think that's something that
great, that you can take care of and you don't have to be here. It's a beautiful thing.
If you want to schedule me and just talk about me without me here, that's fine. I'll leave everything out.
Thank you for being accommodating.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Nice to meet you.
I'm the rest of your night.
Okay, moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, we have a request for rental fee reduction from the 5th grade Adventure Days at East Boston.
Jim, wasn't that a 16-room house?
It's a big house,
Yeah. Said somebody died and left them a fortune.
I don't know.
I'm in the wrong business.
No, that's a big house. I don't even know what you do in a 16-room house. Have a bowling alley?
The house they're taking down is beautiful.
I know.
I didn't even realize that.
Okay, for the record, you are
Jamie Holmes.
Jamie Holmes?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Somebody
How are you?
isn't even
Good, how are
understand
you?
that.
Good. So I think probably everybody saw my email that I had sent. I've rented, so everybody knows what 5th grade camp was back, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. It is no longer. They canceled it pre-COVID, but then obviously COVID also happened in that year, so it didn't ever get resurrected. Last year they did try to bring it back. No one was interested in the position.
Wow.
So they asked for volunteers from the Westford Elementary PTO or Westford PTO to assist with putting together a 5th grade fun day. So we did that last year. I did it as a volunteer and put it all together for a one-day event. At that time, I went to rent East Boston camps for Westford Public Schools and came upon what it cost. So it ended up costing us around $1,000 for the day. And we used the camp itself, but really we used a small amount of indoor space, which we actually ended up sharing with Teamworks because there was a mess up on the schedule anyways. So at the same time, I was planning a Girl Scout outing for using the camps, and I paid $30 to have 40, maybe 30 Girl Scouts up there and use 2 buildings. And not that we overused them, we respected them and cleaned them up the way they came, but we spent $30 total on that. And it just seems, my question, I guess, in my email was sort of like, this is also for a youth group. Granted, it's Westford Public Schools as a youth group, but to make this an affordable outing, because instead of this being 5th grade camp falling under it fell under the math and science coordinator. I guess they allotted funds through that. Now 5th grade adventure days, as they're being branded, there'll be 2 days, and it's more of a field trip style thing. I will still be the coordinator, not as a volunteer. I'll get a small stipend for coordinating the 2 days and putting everything together, and then ordering what materials are needed. So now that brings us, if it's 2 days, to $2,000. One of the days we only will need it half of the day, which that really isn't an option on here as far as pricing goes. So I'm just trying to see if we can figure something out that makes a little bit more sense with it. We're not a youth service organization because we're Westford Public Schools, but we are servicing youth, and just like we did community service projects, I can happily organize a 5th grade community service project to, suffice that criteria there. And I'm not even asking for $30. I think $30 is a deal and a half. Matt and I have had this discussion and think that you could probably up that price for even the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts that want to
Talking
use
30
it.
for the whole day?
Overnight. I used it for over 24 hours and paid $30.
How many students?
No, I'm talking about for Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, it was only $30 to use it from, for roughly 24 hours. And then for Westford Public Schools to use it for 8 hours, not even 8 hours, but roughly 8 hours, it was $1,000.
Can you tell me how many students come?
It will be about 320.
And how many came for your scouts?
I think it was 30.
30 students.
but we used far less of the facilities than, I mean, the bathrooms, yes, I guess.
How do you
but
pay, how did the school pay for it?
We charge families.
So if you had 300, it would be 300 into 1,000 or whatever we
Yeah.
charged you.
So, somebody had texted me asking me about a budget. I have a rough, thing, from last year based on what we did. And so ideally, we would like to keep it low cost, right? We're trying to do something, keep kids in town. I can remember back when, you know, I was upset about fifth grade camp being done with. I remember there were many people from conservation and East Boston camps also feeling the same way. Why are we losing this treasure that these kids should be experiencing? But also I understand that, you know, people may not be able to justify the money to go there if it doesn't seem.
But you're talking $30 a child, if you're talking $900.
So yes, if the
If
cost.
we charged you 1,000, it would be $30 a child.
No.
Three.
Okay, am I wrong? It'd be what?
It'll be
Yeah.
$3 and
So we're
change.
not overcharging the parents.
So,
I'm just trying
yes,
to.
because it's not just, like, we have to facilitate everything that goes on up at the camp. So it's not just the line item of East Boston camps.
Backtrack a little for me, okay?
Yeah.
Tell me again. So when you did it for 5 days,
Yes.
what cost the parents?
I wasn't part of it, but I believe, was it, Matt?
I know the rental, the rental for 5 days was $4,000.
$4,000. And
Okay.
for maybe 300 students?
Yeah,
I
again,
imagine the number is similar. 300 to 400 students would be my guess. I think that's been the average of fifth
So it
graders.
was more per parent? For more time?
More time.
For more time, okay.
So about $800 a day.
Yes.
Right, yes, 800, yep.
Well, and thinking back to when my kids did fifth grade camp, I mean, there were activities that extensively used, you know, I mean, zip line, going in the water.
That's what I remember, zip
Extensively
lines
using
and
the facilities. Will the adventure days be more?
Yeah, it's all held up in the camp. So
Okay,
we
so it's-
we have an accessibility became an issue with
Okay.
running fifth grade camp. That's why it is no longer. So we literally just use that center camp, main camp space.
So you're using a smaller footprint of the facilities?
They're not zip lining or anything?
Not zip lining, not
zip lining.
boating.
How
Those zip
sad,
lines
how
down.
sad.
There is definitely
I'm here
some
53
frustration with
years,
lots of things, but I'm working with what I have and
Oh, yeah,
at least
sure,
trying
I'm
to
sure.
get them there.
I taught for 27 years.
Jim, you got a number in mind?
No, I'm just wondering about public access.
Well, I mean, like I mentioned to Matt last year, the posters that were posted didn't like give anybody the impression you weren't supposed to be there. It was a map of the camp that, you know, in small lettering. So there were lots of people walking around with dogs, which isn't ideal with children around. But I mean, personally, I don't think that it made any difference to people accessing it. We also used the rain date, so even if it was posted previously, that it wouldn't have made a difference. People were there.
Let me hear again, so is it 300?
No.
Okay, so no?
I have a question. Does it cost us in terms of insurance, liability, or otherwise?
It's our insurance that covers it, the schools, Westford Public Schools.
So we have a fund.
MIAAs.
It's just funds that go into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same insurance.
revolving
It's
fund
the
for
same town
maintenance of
insurance for.
Okay.
That's where all the rental fees go.
I
into
was
a
told
fund.
that it was through MIAA because Westford Public Schools uses it for cross-country as well.
Tell me again what it would cost a parent. We're talking 2 days, right?
So right now, we're looking at, with all of what I have right here for costs, is about $30 for parents. With, you know, what the stipend is, what we need to buy for supplies. We have a entertainer coming in one of the
Okay,
days.
so the actual cost for the camp is not the $30. It's just.
No.
Okay, so we don't even know what our piece is. Is
Well,
our
so,
piece
but that's-
$5?
but that's
So this
what
is what I'm saying.
But that's with a $2,000 rental fee.
Yes, $2,000, yeah.
If we can, you know,
I'm not looking for it for free. I just am trying to
And I
come up
don't
with a
feel- I'm-
sustainable.
Yeah, but I'm living in West.
So if we were 800 a day for 5 days and it was $4,000, if it was 1,600 for 2, that's where we typically would be at?
And then what's it costing a family? 30?
I mean, it's still, I mean, that's, you know, so we're reducing it $400 for, you know, 400, 3 to 400.
wait a minute.
I mean, that changes, so that brings the cost down $1.
But
So,
we're not responsible for that full $30, because you're buying supplies, you're buying other kinds of things.
No, I'm not,
So,
yeah.
so I just want to really
So
understand.
she's wondering if like, okay, there's a
What's it,
$30
$4
cost,
for
is it
us?
$5 for the rental up
I don't
there?
think that's a lot of
As
money.
a portion of the
I don't
30,
think that's-
or?
I don't think it's unreasonable.
I'm not saying it's a lot of money. I guess what I'm saying is that the commission makes, what's the word? It has done this for youth groups, right? To be able to access, it doesn't matter how many people you have up there as a youth group, it's $30 flat fee. I could have 300 kids coming for Girl Scouts, and it would still cost me $30, is what I'm trying to say, correct?
So you're trying to know
I
what the
don't,
difference is?
At the bottom.
I don't feel it should be free.
Youth service organizations, flat rate of $30 for one night, 20 hours per troop, plus community service
I
project.
mean, so per troop,
community
yeah,
service
so it's
project.
$30 for one night per troop. If there's gonna be 300 troop, kids up there, that's not one troop. I don't, I
I guess
understand
what
your point.
all I'm saying
And, I
is
mean,
that
And I'm trying, and
the cost would probably be half of what it's costing Westford Public Schools. And again, the second day, we're only gonna be there for 3 hours. So,
I mean, so if it's a day and a
What I
half,
hear on the end of what you said, though, about a community service for the,
so, I mean, and that's,
is you have an in-kind kind of thing where they could go around, pick up litter, dog poop, something?
Could we
I'm
do
serious.
could we do,
No, I'm very serious on
Yeah,
this.
I know.
could we do, maybe we charge them for half the day and then the other half of the day is a community survey project instead of
But I'd like to
paying
know
for
what
the
that was before they
full
went
half?
up to camp.
Right.
So what do you think, 12?
Well,
I'm
so-
trying to come up with a number here, or.
yeah,
But
I
I'd
mean,
like
is-
to see it.
I mean,
I'd like
if it is a day and a half, is it, $1,000, is it $1,000, whereas, day one is, so it's kind of reduced to 500, again, where there were, funds in the town's operating budget that,
This is parents.
it is parents, but so then we want everybody to go, right? Like and there are people that can't now,
Somebody who can't afford the 30,
that can't afford it.
which only 5 perhaps might be the camp.
Right. I understand what you're saying. I'm not trying, all I'm trying to say is that we're trying to get the youth to go up there, right? We're trying to get them to use these
I find it
camps.
hard. I mean, I have 3 children who went through the school system. I taught here 27 years and I lived here 53. I find it hard to think that $5, if that's what we went for, would prevent the child from coming, to the camp. I find it very hard. It's not an argument for me because the rest of the money will be on the supplies. Now, what interested me was you talked about a project, a service project in the camp, maybe from the children. If there was an educational piece attached to this where it became valuable for them to understand that we could decide what that was and that they would do when they were up there for the other half of the day, I'd be much more amenable to what you're saying.
So just to clarify, the half day is not because we have like open space, we're walking to Stony Brook to then have lunch there and do a thing. But I would be happy to have one of our stations be a service project where for 45 minutes, they rotate through
All 300 children
all
would go through
300
that.
children would rotate through and do some type of service project. I don't have a problem
Yeah, I
with
still
trying
don't
to
understand
facilitate
not needing
that.
the $5. I mean, I feel like it's such a small amount of money.
I'm just trying to make it be sustainable for the long term. So I have 5 kids. I'm not saying I can't afford to pay that money. I'm fortunate that we can afford to pay that money. But the way that Westford Public Schools is looking at this, unfortunately, is now as a field trip. So a parent like me has to be willing to work all of these hours to do all of this planning and stuff for a very small amount of money and organize all the volunteers and organize all of these things. And if this isn't a cost sustainable thing for years to come, it will just be done.
I hear you, but I can't buy that. Personally, I can't buy that for the $5.
Is it maybe something that 5th grade can do in town, that we do a fundraiser so that every year we know we're gonna do 5th grade field trips?
Yeah.
And so every year,
Isn't the
at
dollar.
the beginning of the year, we start the fundraiser so that by the time it's 5th grade camp, we have enough money to send them and
I'm sure that there's
You're doing this all
fundraisers that we
year
can do.
long.
I mean, I'm also happy to East Boston Camps was at a discounted rate because we're gonna do a service project, and here's their info to, you know, you'd probably make more money for me saying that you can donate to the, you know, East Boston
And
Camps.
the other thing is, if you had, let's say you had 4 children in town who couldn't afford that, I would be willing for you to come back and tell me that and take their dollars off.
Yeah, I guess I understand what you're
I really feel strongly about
saying.
this, and I don't know why I do, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I give away my heart, but
So,
I think this is quite doable and I think there should be some small price. Or
so
some
you'd be
kind of-
more amenable to offering, say, a scholarship, you know,
I
a
call it whatever you
scholarship,
want.
you know, a
With
scholarship
the
type.
understanding that if we have someone who can't, you'll privately come and talk to him and we'll work out a scholarship
Okay.
on that individual. But if the whole 30 was because of us, I might think that differently, but where I'm not hearing that, I don't think that, you know, I think I'd have to see some kind of service
Something the math.
project.
Well, but, so what do you mean, so
So if we
we're
reduced
willing to
our-
do the service project though, what would your price be?
I don't know, we have to talk about that. So right now, our price is 30
$800
a
a day?
child? What?
It's $1,000 a day. That's what we paid
Yeah,
last
I mean,
year.
but
What
going
is
back-
the value of what does it cost for them to step foot on our land?
So,
2,000 out of 9,600 roughly.
Yeah, roughly.
So she's got a budget for other things she's got to meet.
But that's not us.
That's not us.
So we physically saying $2,000?
well, I mean, for
That's
going
list
back to
price.
previously, it would have been 800 a day, so 1,600.
So this is off of the our rate sheet.
Yes, you know, and it's as a function up there, as opposed to, you know, renting individually, you know, $300,
talking
especially, you know, looking at the
$1,600.
campsites.
Well, the
you
rate
know,
sheet would say 2,000.
Yeah, well, so it would say, and so, again, I unfortunately was not in town and not, you know.
Okay, so just
But in
help me
terms
see
of
this.
if it was, you know, a la carte as a type 1, you know, so there's, you know, a day rate for, you know, the entire camp, you know, entire tent campground with, you know, $300. And so, you know, the $3 per person per day, you know, for the tent campground is, you know, times 300 is $900. So, you know, that's, you know, so if it's still the, you know, the $800 as, you know, based upon the previous, you know,
So it's
full
less
weeks.
it's less than $3.
Right, it would be, you
So
know.
then I can't see.
What's less than $3? It's $3
What it would
per
cost a
campground
child per day to
plus.
go.
What?
Right,
It would be less than $3
if
per
it was
day.
$800 per day, you know, because
As a
that was.
flat rate.
As a flat rate,
Yeah.
prorated from, you know, when it was the full week back in.
I don't
when
think
it
it's a
was
good
held.
precedent for us to not charge. And I think $3
Oh, I'm
a
not
day-
asking
no.
for anybody to not charge. So that's,
So the
please, like,
$3
understand that
Okay, I'm
we're
just trying to
willing
think out loud.
to,
This is
that
not
we're willing to
personal in any
pay.
way.
But what we paid last year, it ended up being, I think, $6 per student. So I would love to,
We can
yes,
lower it.
So I would love for it to be half that. I would love to pay $1,000 instead of $2,000 this year. Like, but if that's not, if, you know, you want to meet in the middle, I'm just asking for
Okay.
some type of a consideration for Westford Public Schools.
She really wants
youth
it for
group.
like a day and a half, and
Right.
that
So
half
let's
day
do
is
it
not
twelve.
even really a
I
half
have no
day.
trouble with that, if
So-
I can have some sort of teaching of the children about, you know.
Yeah, and I'm happy to work with
and
anybody
how that-
on what you
might have
want
to
done.
work that out with Matt, you know, but,
So I'd say let it be a grant with some educational
right.
component.
And I'd like to know the educational piece before, just so we knew it, so that somebody perhaps, when the camp was over, could come before us and tell us what they did. A real learning process for the child.
And
Or
so
the
this
group.
educational component is something that really could be repeated year after year. So it's the same information being shared as opposed to having to come up with a a community service aspect every year.
I'm totally fine with doing that, but I just want everybody to understand, I am not an educator, so
got it.
I'm doing this.
I
So I'm
got it.
happy to work with all of you and come up with that educational component
make
and
it
what
that
you're
hard.
looking for.
But something that they would
Um,
learn.
but yeah.
And something that somebody
It will
could
be
come here
volunteers
and-
running it.
Right, and
Yeah.
somebody who would come forward and share it with us, maybe with some slides or what they did.
Sure.
So everybody would feel part of.
Yeah.
I could live with that.
What would be great is
But I need you to work that out with Matt, so you'd have clear.
Yeah, the education.
it would
what-
be,
And what's
yeah.
reasonable, knowing that you're a volunteer, okay? And yet what's worthwhile for the children, so they come away with more than just that day away.
Yep.
Okay. Then I can live with some of it.
So, one of the scouts had come up here, I think it was Connor, I forget which Connor, a couple of months ago, and he had like this whole thing about fish.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That would be very relevant. Yeah, I could see young kids, you try to teach them stuff that's,
They're not allowed near the water anymore.
bookish,
Yeah,
it's
but
too
that-
bookish,
yeah.
but fish, about fish or.
Well, she said they
or
can't
types
go near
of
the
trees.
Wildlife conservation, wildlife.
Kind of
I mean, we
trees,
have a whole
exactly,
thing like
kind
on
of
le-
trees.
like the different type of leaf and plants, but
Invasive as a
Matt would
vegetation,
know
yeah.
what they were learning
Yeah.
before, and then we would have a summary with somebody here, with their parents, who could feel very proud of them. There'll be somebody out there,
yeah, no, I'm sure I can make
That
that
kind
happen.
of
I just want to make sure whatever I want like clear expectations of
So
what.
you work that
and
out with Matt.
Yeah, and I will certainly keep the chair in the loop.
Okay.
as
The
to-
Friends
Okay.
of East Boston Camps
Okay.
might be a good asset too, to talk to them about, an educational thing that they could help you with.
Yeah, and I know a few of the people on there, so I'm happy to work with whomever. And if you're quarried and fingerprinted, you can come and volunteer.
So to summarize, just to wrap this up, it's $1,000 rental fee.
For the program.
For the day and a half, for 2 days, for all intents and purposes. Educational component at the, as one of the stations within.
Could be
That each
determined,
child will
yeah.
go
Could be
through.
determined, in
Yeah, details to
consultation
be
with the
figured
chair
out.
and myself. And then just a follow-up, 5 minutes.
This is what we did
Yeah,
Right,
this is what it
with-
was,
with
just
some
on
slides.
7:35 or something, right,
Yeah.
with the,
Yeah, and what we learned,
yeah.
you know.
And
something.
assuming I'm going to be here for the next 6 years with the rest of my children, if this goes well, can we
Oh, you'll come back, and if we're all happy. we
Recycle
can
it,
do the
yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
going.
play it out. Let's see what we each learn from it.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm happy. I'm good with that.
Okay,
I'm willing to do my part.
so are we.
So, could I please have a motion to the effect of the summary
So
that I provided?
a motion,
To adjust.
So a motion summarizing what Matt just said in terms of the cost for the program, the educational component, and somebody coming back.
Follow-up.
And with a follow-up, sharing with us what that educational component would be. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a
Second.
second? All those in favor? Aye.
Excellent.
Okay.
Appreciate
Very much.
that.
We
And so
appreciate
you'll
you.
be in touch.
Yes.
Okay.
See, that worked out.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for doing the camp.
Oh, no problem.
Sorry for the grilling.
Oh, it's okay. Okay. Not a problem. All right. Have a great night, everyone.
Hey, you as
Thanks,
well.
Jerry.
Take care.
Moving on to our 7:35 PM agenda item.
Not
There was
always
going to be a
imagine.
discussion of Spalding Hill Estate,
But I do
and
enough
they have
volunteer.
The
requested,
project team has requested to table this to April 12th. No motion is needed as it's not a public hearing.
Spalding's just I'm not paying attention.
yeah, so they're kicking the can
When?
down the road.
April 12th.
Thank you.
Yep. So the next item was a continuation of a public hearing for 73 Brookside Road. The applicant has requested a continuance without discussion to May 10th, 2023. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to our discussion and action items, the Stony Brook Conservation Area dog waste complaint.
Just, that we should just take care of it.
Oh, no, yeah. Yes. Well, and it just,
Right?
she
Wasn't
was,
that how it was worded, I believe?
Your
To answer
problem.
and take care of,
she
how it
was
was, yes.
making me aware of something she saw on Facebook.
Yeah.
which is dangerous in and of itself, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other. But I did speak with facilities and parks, as they do have other open spaces. People go to the schools, people go to the other recreational facilities around town. They do have, there are trash cans that are maintained by the parks staff, and I think that's where a large percentage of dog waste ultimately ends up, is within the trash barrels at the schools and the
In
other.
some places, they have actual bags, and they have actual places where you can dispose of the,
In town?
no, not in our
Oh, okay.
town, in other towns.
Yeah,
like in
and
Acton.
so, I mean, this was always kind
Acton,
of
I'm
the,
sorry, in the Groton.
back to the carry in,
Carry in,
carry
carry
out,
out.
and, I think there can, when I've been up there, I've never not seen somebody clean up after their dog.
It's
I'm sure it does
especially
happen.
bad in the spring when the snow starts to melt, 'cause you get layers upon layers.
Yeah.
I
suddenly
understand
appear,
that,
yeah.
and so, it's.
What does it take for those plastic bags to be provided?
It takes people bringing their own, like this, in their pocket.
Yeah.
No, I'm not thinking that. I have actually seen those supplied.
I supply these because they
I
come
know
from
you
my
do.
house.
Right, I mean, it's.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, but I'm
I
just
mean,
talking about places that have doggy bags, so people could take them when
I mean,
they
we can
walk.
Like the
certainly
Groton Woods
look
in
into,
Groton.
I mean,
The Groton Woods in Groton
Yeah.
does that.
And
That
they-
used to be a dog park.
I can look into it,
It's not anymore.
but it's the, it's then
Then they leave
who's
the bags.
cleaning out the, who's.
yeah, the
We still
receptacles.
have some.
Yeah.
I mean, and is that going to get filled up with,
And other
litter
things,
from
right.
people going there?
We still have a
First
caretaker, or
warm
we have
summer
nobody
weekend,
anymore?
the trash barrels will be filled with beer cans and
Nah.
diapers.
Do we
and
have a caretaker
all the
for
garbage
East
that
Boston
people
camps,
don't
or
wanna
not
carry
anymore?
in.
We have
Yeah.
gone back out and will be signing the contract with the facilities manager.
Okay,
For
so we
the-
never filled the position. Okay,
Well, it's a 3-year, it's on a 3-year contracted services.
okay.
Um,
I remember
whereas,
Man did it, wasn't it? What's it face's husband?
yeah,
Rather remind people to carry in and carry out the way they're supposed to be doing right
Right.
now.
Oh,
Than to
yes,
be
yes, yes,
accommodating and
Julie.
providing receptacles that are gonna get filled up with all manner of things.
been doing that.
And us saying, well, we'll have our caretaker take care of it. I don't think that's where we want it to be.
We find out what happens in Groton or other places.
yeah, I can certainly ask.
Ask and how they
Carlisle
manage
to-
it and what it costs.
Yep,
Let's
let's-
just look at that.
Yep, I can certainly look into that and get an answer for.
Maybe that's
upcoming-
something we need the fifth
I mean-
grade camp to look at.
I was just gonna say, we should have.
I'm not
Pete
kidding you.
pick it
Maybe
up.
we need to,
Pick
maybe
up
we
day
need to
with
bring it
fifth
up.
graders?
No, but I think we need to bring it up into, like, everybody's awareness.
Well-
Everybody doesn't even think
I
about
agree.
this, so.
Until one gets sick and,
Yeah, I don't know
we'll
if it's-
hear about
I
it.
don't know if it's so much as awareness, it's behavior.
Yes, I
it's,
agree,
It's no,
I
I mean,
agree.
it's the same. It's
So-
just, it's kind of it's in that same vein as leashing your dog. It's the town has the leash
Exactly,
bylaw.
exactly.
And
This is worse, but
you're
all right.
right. It's of that same vein of
Yeah.
we don't need more
I'm
signs up there saying to
entitled.
keep your dog
It's
on a
an
leash. There's
entitlement,
enough of those.
yeah.
That's true.
Or
But,
disregard or
to
something.
clean up after your dog. You
Okay.
can put
And
up.
take it with you.
Let's put that,
Yeah.
let's put that on our
And
radar,
don't just have your dog
something
go in the
to
woods.
Certainly look
pursue.
into
Let
that.
how do other people deal with
But
it?
really
Yep.
just.
No? Okay,
Yeah, but
okay,
yeah.
great. That would be great.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
Minutes.
minutes.
very
So,
good, as they
first
always
we
are.
have the minutes of February 22nd, 2023.
I have
Did
nothing.
anybody have any feedback?
Look good.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for February 22nd, 2023?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes for the virtual meeting on March 16th, 2023.
They look good too.
Yep.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for March 16th, 2023?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Matt, you have the
Have the extension for the commission to sign
from
Thank you.
16th,
from the
okay.
16th.
That comes to the end of our agenda. Oh,
I had one thing. I
Sure.
forgot to ask at the beginning of the, did you go down and check out the?
I haven't made it to the Akerdine to Silver Trail yet. The town manager's
it's
office
25
did
days, right?
receive an email over the weekend about for lack of a better term, a hunting blind on the commission's property between the railroad and the upper portion of Graniteville.
You found one?
On-
Did you say?
It was a bunch of plywood. I think it was a teenage boy, you know, much like
Now how happy I am with that
the
stuff, right?
hacking the tree, you know, 10-year-old
much
get a
as I am for
hatchet.
charging
It
children.
was, you know, a 10-year-old with a
Chop
hammer and some nails and, you know,
Some board.
accumulated. It'll be in the miscellaneous for the commission's next packet, but the highway department and the public works crews were very helpful in removing it. The assistant DPW director emailed me at the end of the day, so that one is gone. Noel did email me about a ladder along the Akerdeen to Silver Trail that I've yet to make it out to. Maybe Friday when it's not raining.
It's a camouflage ladder, so you really gotta look for it.
Ladder that goes to what?
A deer stand.
Oh, there is a stand.
There's like some boards in the. I'll
It's
include
like-
that in the next further, but I'll.
I could see it be a tree house.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
It's kids.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
I'm chalking that one up to kids too.
Yeah.
But I will certainly ask DPW to remove the ladder. I may bring that one out, kind of
and
carry that one out.
and the
So
dumping.
I'll look into that one.
Yeah. Thanks. How's it?
Anything else? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
See you all Saturday morning.
You will.
We'll see you then.